Salamat, Sir Lester. Napakahusay. Ang ating susunod na teacher ay hindi papahuli. 2019 Damat Champion Teachers Category, nagtapos sa Rizal Technological University sa kursong Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Mathematics. 8 taon na sa pagtuturo at kasalukuyang nasa AHIS din. Walang iba kundi si Sir Aries M. Marcelino.
Maraming salamat, Ma'am Donna Maranan. Nagpapasalamat din po ako sa pagkakataon na ibinigay sa akin ng Project SOAR sa pamamagitan ng aming Education Program Supervisor, Sir Resty Rodelas, at sa aming ever supportive school principal, Ma'am Gigi G. Bulanday. Teachers, home learning partners, at lalo't higit sa inyo, AHISians, at sa lahat ng Batang MANDunong. Magandang buhay! Handa na ba kayo? Samahan ninyo ako ngayong araw. Tayo ay nasa week 4 na ng ating series of online academic reviews of mathematics. Make sure nakahanda na ang inyong module, notebook, at ballpen. Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Ang ating pong aralin ngayong araw na ito ay linear functions. Objectives. To determine whether functions are linear functions by using graphs, tables, and equations. How can you determine whether a function is a linear or non-linear? Students will be able to determine whether functions are linear functions by using graphs, tables, and equations. A linear equation in two variables, x and y, is an equation that can be written in the form y equals mx plus b, where m and b are constant, just numbers. Ibig pong sabihin, yung value ng m and b are numbers or mga numero. Likewise, a linear function is a function whose graph is a non-vertical line. A linear function has a constant rate of change and can be represented by a linear equation in two variables. And a nonlinear function does not have a constant rate of change and its graph is not a line. Does the graph represent a linear or non-linear function? Explain. Graph number 1. Obserbahan po natin kung ano ang ating nakikita sa graph. At sabihin natin kung ito ba ay linear or non-linear function. At ipaliwanag. Ang sagot, the function is non-linear. Why? Because the graph is not aligned. Kung makikita ninyo, itong pula na linya na ito yung ating graph. At ang tawag ditong sa graph na ito ay parabola. This is not form aligned. Therefore, this graph is not a linear function. How about the second graph? Obserbahan natin at sabihin kung ito ay linear or non-linear function. At ipaliwanag. Sagot. The function is linear. Why? Because the graph is a line. As you can see, makikita natin itong pulang linyang ito ay makakabuo ka ng isang line or maybe a straight line. Now, punta naman tayo sa table. Paano natin masasabi na ang isang given na table ay linear or non-linear function? Explain. Then, sabi nga natin, masasabi natin na ang isang graph or a table, rather, a linear function has a constant rate of change. Obserbahan natin ang unang table. Ang values ng x are 3, 6, 9, and 12. Anong mapapansin sa mga values ng x? Kung mapapansin natin na ang bawat values ng x ay tumataas ng ilang unit. Mula sa values ng first values ng x sa first is 3, then the second values of x is 6. Therefore, it increased 3 units. And also, the third values of x is 9. Also increased by 3. And last values of x, which is 12, is also increased by 3. Therefore, all are increased by 3. How about the values y? The values of y are 36, 30, 24, and 18. Ano po ang inyong mapapansin? The first value of x is 36. For the second value, it becomes 30. Therefore, it decreased by 6. The third values of x is 24. Also decreased by 6. And the last value of x, which is 18, also decreased by 6. Therefore, as x increased by 3 and y decreased by 6, the rate of change is constant for both x and y. The function is linear. Graph number, table number 2. The value of x are 1, 3, 5, and 7. What did you observe? The values of x for the first table is 1. Then, the second values of x is 3. Therefore, it increased by 2 units. The third values of x is 5, also increased by 2 units. And last values of x, which is 7, also increased by 2. They are same increases for each other. How about for the value of y? The value of y in our first table is 2. The second value of y is 9, which increased by 7.
And then, the third value of y is 20. It increased by 11. And lastly, the last value of y is 35, increased by 15. Now, what is the difference? The difference, as x increased by 2, y increased by different amounts. What are the different amounts? Increased by 7, the first, increased by 11, the second, and the third one is increased by 15. Therefore, they are different amounts. The rate of change is not constant for both x and y. The function is non-linear. Now, let us try this one. Does the graph represent a linear or non-linear function? Explain. Graph number 1. And also, graph number 2. Let us identify which graph is a linear or non-linear function and explain. Okay, let us examine the graph. Now, for graph number 1, the function is linear. Why? Because the graph is a line. As you can see, yung kulay pula, makikita ninyo, siya ay straight line or makakabuo siya ng isang line. How about the second graph? It is a linear or non-linear function. The answer is non-linear. The function is non-linear. Why? Because the graph is not aligned. Paano natin masabi bakit ang graph ay hindi daw line? Because there are two lines, then we have an intersection. This point, 0, negative 2. Therefore, if we have an intersection, therefore, this is not a line. Okay? Or this is not a function. It is non-linear. Another one. How about for the table? Okay, does the table represent a linear or non-linear function? Remember that a linear function has a constant rate of change. For our first table, let us examine and observe. Okay, the values of x are 0, 1, 2, and 3. Therefore, they are increased by 1. And the values of y are 3, 5, 7, and 9. They are increased by 2 units. Therefore, as x increased by 1, y increased by 2, the rate of change is constant for both x and y. Therefore, the function is linear. How about the second table? It is a linear or non-linear function. Let us observe and examine the table. Okay, the values of x are 1, 2, 3, and 4. They are increased all by 1. The values for y are 16, 8, 4, and 2. Okay? The first one is decreased by 8. But the second one, to get the third values of y, it decreased by 4. And the last values of y, which is 2, it decreased by 2. So, therefore, as x increased by 1, y decreases by different amounts. The rate of change is not constant for both x and y. The function is non-linear. Now, which of the following equation represent linear functions? And explain. A linear function can be written in the form y equals mx plus b, where m and b are constant or just number. These are the given or the problems. Number 1, y equals 3.8. Number 2, y equals square root of x. Number 3, y equals 3 raised to x. Number 4, y equals 2 over x. Number 5, y equals 6 quantity x minus 1. And last number, x squared minus y equals 0. Now, let us identify which are the linear function can be written in the form of y equals mx plus b. Let us examine the equations. Then, you cannot rewrite the equations y equals square root of x, y equals 3 raised to x, y equals 2 over x, and x squared minus y equals 0 in the form y equals mx plus b. Why? In first equation, y equals square root of x, if we write this one, maybe write as y equals x raised to 1 half. Therefore, cannot be written in the y equals mx plus b. Also, y equals 3 raised to x, we have an exponent in the exponent. The variable x located at the exponent part. And then the variable x located at the denominator part. And this one, x squared minus y equals 0. The degree of the polynomials is in the second degree. This is not a linear function. Therefore, so these equations cannot represent linear functions. Therefore, you can write the equation y equals 3.8 as y equals 0x plus 3.8. Therefore, the value of m is 0, but we have the value of b, which is 3.8. So, we can rewrite this equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. And also, you can write the equation y equals 6 quantity x minus 1 as y equals 6x minus 6. How do we do that? So, from that equation, we are going to use the distributive property of multiplications. Just simply multiply 6 times x, it becomes 6x, and 6 times negative 1, it becomes negative 6 in simplify or simplest form. Therefore, y equals 6x minus 6, it is in the form of y equals mx plus b. Therefore, it is a linear function where m is equal to 6 and b is equal to negative 6. So, these equations represent linear functions because may be write as in the form of y equals mx plus b. Again, a linear function can be written in the form of y equals mx plus b kapag ang ating given ay equations. Now, let us try this one. Number 1, y equals x plus 9. Yes, you can rewrite the equation as y equals 1x plus 9. We all know that numerical coefficient of any single variable is equal to 1. Therefore, this problem is a linear function. Number 2, y equals 3x over 5. You can rewrite the equation as y equals 3 over x plus 0. The value of m is 3 over 5 and the value of b is 0. Therefore, equation represent a linear functions. And number 3, you cannot rewrite the equation as y equals mx plus b. Why? Because the degree of the polynomial is in the second degree. This is not a linear function. Equation is a non-linear function. To summary, so let's review, what have we covered so far? Ano ba yung ating mga naintindihan o naunawaan? Paano ba natin malalaman na ang isang equation or given table and given graph ay linear or not linear functions? Students will be able to determine whether functions are linear functions by using graphs, tables, and equations. In a graph, it looks like a line. Sa madaling salita, kailangan para masabing linear function makabuka ng line or straight line. In a table, we look for what? A constant rate of change in both x and y values. And lastly, in equations, we need to be able to do what? Kailangan siya ay nakarite sa equation ng y equals mx plus b. Maraming salamat. Sana po ay ating naunawaan ang ating aralin ngayong araw na ito.
Maraming salamat, Batang Mandunong, at sinamahan niyo ako dito sa week 4 ng ating series of online academic reviews of Mathematics Grade Year. Muli, mga bata, laging tatandaan, maging matalino, matyaga, at mag-aral ng mabuti dahil lamang ang may alam. Ang Batang Mandunong, walang maiiwan, lahat kabahagi ng bilang. Ako, si Teacher Aries Marcelino. Thank you, stay safe, and God bless.